Hey everyone, welcome back to She's Crafty Paperworks. If you're new here, I'm Jen, and I make cards and I post them on the internet. Today, I'm excited to be back after a couple weeks of trying to get the new semester off to a good start. And now that we're settling in and things are starting to calm down a little bit, I thought I would share some of the things that I was doing to help de-stress in these last couple weeks. I did not buy the coordinating stack die set that was part of the set, and I knew that one of the things that I was going to do with this is use some fun folds. I'm doing 2 Z folds, and I also picked up the accordion die set. This card base is separate. One of the coordinating sets with this is this fox one, and while the stack dies, when you open this up, it becomes kind of a pop-up and the layers are at the bottom. These layers are attached at the sides and you can create 4 layers. What you get with this set is this little piece right here. And so I'll go ahead and show you my first make using this accordion set. And when you get this base, you can do essentially all kinds of things with it. So in this one, you can take these elements right here. This is leaves or foliage for the base. This is trees for the top. This is like rolling hills. And you would just kind of go through and cut it down to the whatever height you want it to be, right? And this is essentially whatever your layers are going to be. So for this, because there is no coordinating piece with it, it was just up to me what size I wanted. So I decided with this, I cut the first one probably about a third of it off, and that gave me my concrete right there. That's what I use for the carousel and the Ferris wheel. And then for this one, I cut it probably in half. And I use for this one, I use sand, colored cardstock. For that one, I used the Dove. That gave me the top for the boardwalk and then the sand down here. And so these are the only 2 layers that I use. So you can see right there. And each layer gets stuck right in between. Before I attached on top here, I went ahead and glued my layers in. I would occasionally put the little window on top just to see what was fitting inside. Stay tuned on that one because I'm going to have some fun with this. This was a lot easier than I expected this to be. I don't know why I was intimidated by this one, but it ended up being super easy. For this card, I did a classic Z fold, and what I did with that is just took a regular sheet of cardstock, cut it in half lengthwise. So I ended up with 4¼ by 11 inches. And then what I did was I decided to attach my base piece for the sand. I could have also attached the actual pier part because I ended up going back and scoring that as well. But what I did was a simple scoring at 3½ and then at the 6¼ mark. And then when it is folded, you get a classic A2 size card, which will fit into a standard A2 envelope. Super fun, super easy. The one thing I would say is these clouds come from a different set. I don't know what set, but they were already cut and sitting on my desk. This next card is for my mom, And I wanted to do something that was, again, in that theme of celebrating the end of summer, but I wanted to have an interactive element just to kind of spruce it up a little bit because I wasn't doing the full boardwalk. I think it looks great even though it is much more minimal, but I wanted it to spin. And one of my go-to hacks for getting interactive cards, particularly the spinner mechanism, is using these little mini bearings. These rotary bearings are actually for your nails. You can put little charms and glue them onto your nails. Some people use them for like fidget spinners. If there's a way for me to annoy my family members, that would be it. But I don't use them in that regard, but I happen to stumble across them on Amazon, and that's what you look up is just spinning nail charms, and this will pop up. You get they used to be 30 for 7.99, but I think they're up to $10 now. But still, for $10, you get 30 of them, and they're very small. They do not put a lot of height onto your card or thickness into your card, and they can fit under small spaces. So that's why I like them. I use Distress Collage Medium because I know that that works from paper to metal, and it increases the strength of it. And for this Halloween card, what I did was I not only made the Ferris wheel spin, but I made each of the carts spin by taking the little bearing, and because there's a little opening in the little carts, I filled that with light blue, I think it was actually sea glass paper, and that allowed me to put the bearing behind it. So each cart would spin, and then I also made the pumpkin spin. Now that's where the thickness on the card comes in because I have the rotary mechanism going on the Ferris wheel, and then on top of that I have the pumpkin spinning. So there's a little bit of thickness to the card in that regard, but other than that, it is a super easy technique to create spinning cards. And because they are meant to be like fidget spinners, they do have that enticement to it. So while this is certainly not what you would want from a Ferris wheel and spinning that quickly, they definitely have a very fast spinning motion, and they're very addictive. I last year I did two of Tim Holtz ghosts from his I can't remember I think it was one of the Vault collections that was re-released, and I took those ghosts and had those spin, and people loved them. So it's something, it's very, like I said, very easy to do, and it creates a high impact because your card essentially becomes a bit of a fidget spinner. One other thing I wanted to address with the spooky Halloween card was the background that I created. And I did this using my Distress Oxide inks. And with that, I used crackling campfire, carved pumpkin, rusty hinge, and wild honey. And I started in the corner creating kind of a sunset, and then did a little bit of everything, right? I started bringing in the colors to create a that spooky sky atmosphere, and to do that, I made sure that I kind of spread everything out so that I had parts that had more of that darker orange, and then I had in the right hand corner, that's where kind of where the sun was setting. So I was trying to mimic that. And as I layered up the cards and started doing my blending, Then I segued over to bringing in the spookiness. And to do that, I brought in hickory smoke and then black soot. That allowed me to kind of darken the skies and bring in that kind of spooky atmosphere to it. I really enjoyed how this background turned out. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a mistake that I made with this card, and that is a classic Z fold is scored at 3.5 and 6.25. I reversed the numbers, so I scored it at 3.25 and 6.5. And that was enough so that when the card is folded, it is no longer an A2 classic size. Instead, it is the size of almost a square. It's 4.25 in height and then 4.5 in width when it's closed. So that I was a little, perturbed at myself for making that mistake, but I have plenty of square envelopes, so no big deal. I'm moving on with it, and I was not, after I had done that background, I was not going to do it again. So I just ran with it, and like I said, I have square envelopes. And the other thing with that is the person that I'm going to give this to is not going to care one way or the other, would not even notice that. So, we sometimes get a little too hard on ourselves when we make mistakes, but in this regard, I'm just running with it and just pretending like it was intentional, but I didn't want to pass it off on to you guys as being intentional. So just remember that you for Z fold card, it's scored at 3.5 and 6.25. I should write that down somewhere. In terms of the Halloween elements, I just pulled what was in my stash, and I think all of them came from Spellbinders, the bats, the ghosts, and the pumpkins. But they were all from like different sets. But I just tried to find things that were on scale with the amusement park. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. We have so much going on in the next couple months. And what I have planned for next week is working on our backgrounds for the cards that we'll be making for both the fall and holiday season. So I'm thinking distressed products in our paste and our sprays. I'm also thinking I might even break out the alcohol inks if I have time, just to get some backgrounds on the ready, and that makes the future card making so much faster and so much easier when we have something already in our stash. So we're going to practice that rule next week, and I will see you then. Until then, have a wonderful week and take care. Bye bye.